Welcome into Trust the Process live, and all we're doing right now is all we're doing is buying time until tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it needs to be said, but I'll say it anyway because I want to hear myself say it. James Harden's home debut for
Oh my
your
God.
Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh,
Man, it's a hype tape just for that. I'm your host, James Hyden, here with my guys, Doc Lock, Josh Saffron. What's up, dude? How you doing?
Oh man, I'm all right. I'm going to the James Harden debut tomorrow
Let's
night, which
go.
is like, oh my God, how fortunate I am.
Let's go.
I was lucky. I bought tickets to the cheapest game available, and thanks to a little hamstring injury, it wound up being his home opener. And just wanted to take this moment to remind everyone that Sam Hinkie got James Harden to Philadelphia based on, he got Ben Simmons from tanking. Ben Simmons turned into James Harden. Thank you, Sam Hinkie, once again.
Let's two cheers for mental gymnastics. My guy Digits, man of many digits, one digit because the one digit is the one digit that James Harden wears. Max Coolish, what's up?
oh man, not much, man. It has been a joy watching the Sixers the last two games. I went out for. I ended up by chance at an official Sixers watch party at Misconduct Tavern for the Timberwolves game, his debut. So that was pretty lit. Good experience, good deals, good vibes. It helps that they won by 30 and
Oh yeah.
never were really winning by anything less than I think the Wolves got it to 10 or 9 maybe at one point in the third quarter. And then they still ended up winning by 30, which is something that the old Sixers with 25 never did. They blew big leads and they never got them back, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 games in. It's a small sample size. We'll talk about it. Match made in heaven.
Love that. So we're going to stick right there. We're staying here. We're staying on the hardcore. We're staying with the Sixers. First question. I love this and I want to talk about it. Max, is this the best Philadelphia team since those magical Phillies teams with the pitching staff that'll never be rivaled ever again in the history of baseball? Because let's face it, there's never going to be any baseball ever again, but we're not talking about baseball. Max, is it?
Is this in terms of talent? Because, there's no way you guys aren't leading me into an obvious bait here with the 2017 Eagles, right? There's no way. There's not a trap. I'm not about to, to fall into a bear trap covered by some bamboo and some leaves or something like that. What's going on here? Why are we going all the way back to the Phillies? Is this just a way to get baseball in early, or what's going on?
I think it might be, and you know what? I'm a man of the script, and the script leaves all interpretation open. So you could take it down talent-wise, you could take it down results-wise. I don't know. You tell me.
Okay, well, since we're going with the Phillies, I'll take it talent-wise. And I think that in a league that's so driven by talent in the NBA, this is the most confident I've felt in the Sixers, in literally my whole life. I'm quite literally not exaggerating. I was really too young to really, when you're that young in the Iverson era, your mind just doesn't work the same way as it does as an adult 20 plus years later, right?
Thank God.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Could you imagine if all three of us still thought like we were, in 2000? We would have some insane references.
Or if I had all the stress that I do now when I was 3.
just lighting up candy cigarettes,
yeah, for real.
Ice cream man, how many you got, please? I'm dying here. All right. So let's get back on track here. I really don't want to sound like I'm exaggerating when I say that, right? We saw the Sixers with good teams in the last couple of years, but it's always felt like that we really lacked that true difference maker. And no disrespect to Jimmy Butler, because I know I'll get some shit for this, right? Jimmy Butler is just quite not that guy. The Heat are a really good team. The Heat are the 1 seed in the East right now. Dude, give me the Heat any round of the playoffs, right? Quite literally, give me the Heat any round of the playoffs right now, right? I'd be happy. The only team I want to see more in the playoffs is the Nets. I'm not even joking, right?
Yep.
In terms of contenders, right? Whoever we get in the first round, I don't want to see the Heat in the first round. I don't want that to happen, right?
Yeah, no.
In terms of the perspective, second, divisional and conference championship opponents, for me, it is in terms of most preferred to least preferred, Nets, Heat, Bucks, and I don't know if we're including the Celtics. If we are, I'd put the Celtics probably tied with the Heat. I don't know if we are. The Celtics have been red hot lately, so I don't want to put that energy out there. But at this point, I feel much more concerned about the Celtics than the Nets. And I get that some recency bias. But anyway, best Philadelphia team since the star-studded Phillies. And I think in terms of talent, like in terms of talent doing it, like in terms of talent driving the team and being the driving force, like I would have to agree with that statement, right? Like the whole beauty of that Eagles team was that they were a next man up. They were truly like a movie style script football team, right? Like the whole team came together and they rallied behind their injured quarterback and guys, they found that extra level when they hadn't really showed it all year at crazy times, right? So in terms of like the talent, doing the work and being the price of admission, like I do find I guess a struggle to compare these teams because the most star power we've had in the city since those Phillies have been the Sixers of the last couple of years. But let's be honest, this Sixers team has been quite divisive. There's really ever since year one there has not been a collective stance in terms of the player, like fans' attitudes towards players. Everyone loves Embiid, right? Like there's no doubt about that. Simmons has been a hot topic in Philadelphia for multiple years. Tobias Harris has been a hot topic in terms of his his appreciation by the fans in the last couple of years. Even going back to the Jimmy Butler trade, like hand up right here, like I was very vocal about that not being the trade for the Sixers, and a lot of people disagreed with me. And I'm not going to say I was right because the Sixers handled things extremely poorly overall with that situation. But that iteration of the Sixers with Jimmy Butler and Tobias is probably the most star-studded team that we've had in any sport since those 09, 2010, 15. Objectively, right? Like in terms of like you go anywhere else in the country, people who know these names, like Jimmy Butler's a big name. Simmons was a big name. Embiid was a big name at that point, right? So in terms of star power, like I think the Sixers team is on a different level. And I think that I guess that is why we end up here with this Phillies comparison.
I know it hurts, but like, are we forgetting the Dream Team? Like it was called. It was
I was thinking about that. I really was.
Come on, no, because in order to be the best, this says best Philadelphia team. That Dream Team went 4-12.
I was just saying collection.
This
of
was
names.
best Philadelphia meme.
I got you, Banner.
Josh, is this the best team since those magical Phils teams, or any really Philly team?
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Digits. I thought you might have had some pushback in the way you started your answer. It made it sound like you were gonna give it to the Eagles, and like the Eagles were a good team. We knew they were a good team going into that year. But you said it like it was a movie. It was like a surprise. It was Rocky in real life that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and they were an underdog in every game for a reason. This Sixers team, man, like the only competition they have is the other Sixers team, and that you mentioned, the Jimmy Butler team, which I hated. I mean, I hated everything about that team. I never believed in them. You have James frickin' Harden, and James Harden is playing like Rockets James Harden, and yes, you have to do the pump the brakes. Oh, it's only 2 games. But I don't really want to pump these brakes because it's not like this is a flash in the pan for James Harden. We've seen him do it for years and years. There is no reason that I think he's all of a sudden going to let his foot off the gas or become fat or become like less committed. And you have Joel Embiid, who as exciting Harden is, come on. Joel Embiid is the number 1 basketball player in the entire world right now. Then you add the way Tyrese Maxey is playing on top of that. Are you kidding me? Like, this is not even close. Sorry, Eagles, we love you. We will love you forever. But this is the best team Philadelphia has seen since those Phillies teams. And Max, I love how you added that, the fans' perspective of this. Because what Philadelphia has been missing in all sports, other than Joel Embiid, and now Bryce Harper has started it, is the fan connection with the players, right? Embiid and Harden and Maxey, you got to start including him now.
Yeah,
they're the darlings. They're the darlings of the city. Like the tickets of the Sixers game tomorrow is $80+. The tickets to the game on Friday $70+ against the Cavs. Like this is the hot ticket. I think Wells Fargo Center is going to be like Citizens Bank Park in those summers back when it was sold out. It was the place to be. There was just an insane buzz. And you turn on the radio. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I listened to the radio today, and of course, they were talking about the frickin' Eagles. But based on
listening to WIP,
based on the buzz around town, it feels nice that the Eagles are now taking a backseat to the Sixers. Like they own the city again, and it's great for me. As you've heard from me all year, oh man, Sixers, I don't care. They're not going to do anything this way. Now they got Harden. It's just a new energy. It's a new feeling. Banners, I'm really curious what you're going to say. I don't know how the Sixers
How
can't
do you
be the best
not know
team.
what I'm gonna say?
Well,
This is
go
like
ahead.
so. Why are you guys making me be this guy?
What guy are you going to be?
The Eagles won the Super Bowl.
See, I mean, it's just based on the talent, and I think maybe it's because basketball. You got five
What do you
guys
mean?
on the
Alshon
court.
Jeffrey was a highly sought after free agent. I think the name Fletcher Cox is driven into so many people's minds that you like. It's so
I get ya.
it's like room tone at this point. Like, oh, you
Right.
hear Fletcher Cox and you know what it means, but you really forget how dominant he was. Like
Carson Wentz
Huh?
going to that season, or like was not expected to be the Carson Wentz he was. And then once Carson Wentz went down, you got Nick Foles taking over, and both of them had.
What are you trying to argue here? One won the Super Bowl, one has played 2 games. And don't get me wrong, I'm as bought in on this Sixers team as you guys are, but we still have serious depth issues, okay? I am completely and fully on board with this Sixers team. I have not believed in any of them, any team more. But one team was ridiculously deep and won the Super Bowl. Another has played 2 games.
All right. At this point of the NFL season, I don't think I felt as good about the Eagles as I felt about the Sixers at this point in the season.
They went
Was that-
13-3.
Not at this point in the season. Like they were
They
good.
had 2 losses.
I mean, they were good. I felt great about them. But there was just maybe call it Negadelphian. Like I feel so freaking good about the Sixers team, and I felt great about the Eagles team, right? But I don't know if I was like really thinking they could finish it out. Like I don't know until they got to the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. Like going to that Super Bowl game, I believed the Eagles would win, but I don't know if I really believed that. Like I believe this. I think the Sixers are going to win the finals this year. Like I think they're that good. Like on paper, from what I'm seeing, I didn't believe that with the Eagles until they got to the Super Bowl.
But like I don't like okay, I'm not agreeing with like how you feel about I'm not disagreeing with how you feel about the Sixers team, but like you have a championship winner in between these 2 denominations. Like I don't know how it can be like what like okay, so we're on a timeline right now. We're trying to figure out if this equals this when this already equals this. I don't know how that's a question.
You lost me with the this and this, to be honest.
So
with
all right,
you.
so over here is the Phillies. Over here is the current Sixers.
Sure.
We're trying to figure out if the Sixers equal the Phillies,
Yeah.
but the Eagles right here already equaled the Phillies because they both won a chip. The one team has played 2 times.
Okay, first of all, it's just talent. It's talent on paper, Banners. Like the Eagles on paper, I think are a great team in 2017, but I think on paper the Sixers right now are more talented.
What are you talking about? We're actively trying to solve depth issues on the Sixers on this show, and the depth was lauded on the Eagles so much so that you could have some dude who we make jokes about his genitalia come in and win the Super Bowl.
If anything, that just strengthens the argument that if you look at talent, that this makes the Sixers team the obvious.
That's what I'm saying.
You lost me.
Backups. Okay, think about it like this: talent, like in terms of like best talent, right? Like not in terms of top to bottom, not in terms of like quality of depth, like in terms of like pure talent, in terms of like superstars, in terms of guys that people that aren't fans of the team are aware of or know of. Like I think that's the way that me and Josh approach this question.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I was following, but I think you're losing me because you guys are making statements that we don't know because the Sixers have played 2 games against the Knicks and the Wolves.
Okay. All right. But like, okay, how about this? You got Embiid, who's the best player in the league, and you have NBA top 75 James Harden, and add in the budding, sophomore Tyrese Maxey. Like, that's more talent, I think, than the Eagles had, right? Considering the roster size also.
What are you doing to me, guys? Like, how? What? Really?
Look, I'm just saying in terms of like, I don't know, like in terms of just like overarching talent, right? Like it's also such a hard comparison to make because think about it like this: 40% of the Sixers starting lineups are superstars. You can't say that about any football team in any context, like.
You had at least 3 Ring of Honor guys, probably 2 Hall of Famers, an MVP candidate at this time in the current season, a leading MVP candidate. Like why are you doing this to me?
7 divided by 53 is 13.2%, which, if my math is correct, is much lower than the 40% superstar threshold that the Sixers are bringing to this
All
comparison.
right, you can throw all these maths around, but like
I'm just saying,
you guys are making
I'm just saying,
a whole.
you're asking me
Banner.
how I'm getting to my conclusion. It's through numbers, Banners.
You're making a
I
whole
always
bunch of
bring the
statements off
numbers.
of 2 games versus the Knicks, who literally look depressed that Tom Thibodeau still has a
Banner.
job, and the Wolves, who are coming off a back-to-back.
I think that, okay, how about this? The football version of the Sixers, in my opinion, is closer to the Rams team that just won the Super Bowl than the Eagles team that won the Super Bowl in 2017. Does that make any sense to you?
I mean, yes, but like, but that's not what we're arguing.
Isn't it like the star that we haven't seen the star power, like this sheer nationally recognized star power in the city since the Phillies dynasty? Like that's that. Like I get it.
But star power doesn't equal best. We asked you who was the best team since the championship-winning Phillies.
All right.
The next best team
it
was
is
the
Eagles.
championship-winning Eagles.
Listen, I mean, look, I can't refute that. We have different definitions of the word best, I think, is really what it's coming down to here.
How you can the best teams, they prove themselves to be the best teams in the league. Both of them in their own sports at like oh my god. I feel crazy. I feel absolutely crazy. Look what you have done to me, turning me into this guy. This is ridiculous. Question number 2. Golly. Whew. Okay, I got to read this one. I think I lost my head here. Who are the Sixers' big 3? And we all know what this means because we know who the big 2 are. We know who the dynamic duo is. We know who the EMBeard consists of. But we have a guy we're paying a very large contract, a max contract, and a sophomore on his initial deal. Who's the big 3 here, Josh? Is it Maxey or is it Tobias Harris, who, despite only scoring 12 points, was a plus 20? I want to say plus 19 on the day versus the Knicks.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure he was a plus 19. It'd be hard. I could probably be a plus 12 playing next to Embiid, Maxey, and James Harden. You know, here's the bottom line, and it's sad, right? Like. I wish our guy Jimmy J was on this known Tobias Harris defender, James Jackson, on our show. How can
what are you guys doing to me?
How can you, fans? You gotta move on. You gotta move on. How can I sit here and try and say that Tobias Harris is gonna be part of this big 3? If I have to watch Tobias Harris do that thing where he like backs a guy down and does a little spin fade away and on the elbow, and okay, 1 out of 2 times he gets it to go. The only time I ever should see that guy is if the shot clock is at 3. You know, that Tobias Harris is your 4th option, and that's a fine thing for Tobias Harris to be. Make no mistake about it. Tyrese Maxey is your. Let's also revisit real quick while we're on the topic. The whole like me saying you have to include Maxey in the deal if push comes to shove, and I believe it, and I still would do that. But the fact that they were able to get out of this without including Maxey, you got to give more credit to Daryl Morey, because I thought Maxey was good. I don't want to say I'm wrong yet, but I did compare him to De'Aaron Fox, right? He's looking better than De'Aaron Fox right now.
You're a little wrong on that. Dude, Maxey picked it up from 3. He's picked it up from 3 big time.
He's picked it up from 3. He has picked it up, and he looks like he's clicked it into an extra gear. And like again, the pre 2 games, I guess 2 games, but like, oh my goodness.
Do you?
What banner?
Do you get that it's 2 games? No, Josh, I really agree. I was a little sour on the Drummond, the Drummond inclusion, but he's not going to re-sign at the end of this year. So I completely agree. I don't mean to interrupt.
And yeah, well, what I was going to say about the whole 2 games thing also is that it's like, and it probably won't be all gravy like this. Maxey will have his down game. I'm sure Toby will have a game, hopefully. But teams in the NBA, we've seen it, right? It takes them a long time to mesh. Cite the Brooklyn Nets. The Sixers team, what they did. What's that?
I said sometimes it takes too long, and
sometimes it takes too long.
Traded to a division rival.
Exactly.
23 games left, baby.
And it's just the way they're gelling so well in the first 2 games is not nothing, because we are overblowing it, and it's hard not to. We haven't seen this exciting basketball in quite some time. But if you look at the other teams, I'm blanking. Max, you're more of an NBA guy than I am. Like, do you have like the Clippers, right? That could be another example of it doesn't work so well in the NBA where you just add another star and be like, all right, go win. It usually takes some buffer time. So it is just 2 games, but at the same time, the way that Harden and Embiid are playing well, and in both 2 games, not just one of the 2 games, in both of these 2 games, no doubt, Maxi's been that third guy, and I don't anticipate that to slow down.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of other times where they're. I mean, the Butler and Lowry has worked pretty well pretty quickly.
I mean, Lakers, Mickey Mouse bubble.
Yeah, we won't really count that.
The
Devin Booker and Chris Paul gelled pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, not to like take that. It's Chris Paul. He's not like a guy who needs to score, who like needs the ball. You know what I mean?
That's also true. Chris Paul is a pretty easy superstar to play with. I think a lot of superstars would enjoy playing with Chris Paul because Chris Paul is cool with getting 17 and 12 assists, where most other superstars need 25 and whatever else they get.
There was one more I had in my head, but Max, is this who's the Sixers' big 3? Is this really an argument?
It's definitely Maxey. It definitely is. The shot numbers back it up. He's outshot Harris in both of these games. I think what's really, really impressed me, I know we kind of touched about his improvement from 3 in recent weeks, and hopefully that's not just a flash in the pan. If he develops a legit 3-point shot, he could be legitimately as maybe not as dynamic as Harden at his prime, but like there's definitely a path where he gets like to be that style of player who has a 3-level scoring threat, has a quick first step. I mean, he's not the same body type, but in terms of how he's progressing as a scorer throughout his first 2 years in the league, like doesn't make me think that this is just a flash in the pan. His improvement from 3. One thing that I do also want to mention, I think really the key thing that I was paying attention to the first 2 games is how well Maxey was playing with Harden, right? Like in those minutes they've been together. And right now it seems like Maxey is happy to be his little bro. Like they have been like the ball movement has been incredible the past 2 games. And really the amazing thing is that now when ball movement and your basic offense doesn't get the job done for you, instead of having to force the ball to Embiid with 6 seconds or less to go, you can give the ball to the guy who's a capable scorer from 33 feet out from the basket, has an insane handle. And let's be honest, you can say all you want about his play style. Like, it is a skill to draw that many fouls to an extent. Like, yes, the rules have changed, but like I actually think as much as we have shat on her in the past, I think Doris Burke made a really good point about this on the broadcast in the Knicks game on ABC on Sunday. James Harden is the master. I mean, he is truly the master of in his gather dribble. He brings up and he puts it right in front of you as a defender, and your eyes get real wide. And your instinct is to go for a steal because you see the ball. But as the offensive player, you have the inherent advantage because you already have a game plan in your mind. When he gathers the ball, he knows I'm gonna just go hard left. I'm gonna Euro step left to right. He knows what he's gonna do. As a defender, you're reacting, so you put that ball up there, you make it juicy, you make it visible to the defender. If he's gonna based on his body, his body in motion and all that stuff. You have an idea of where he's going to reach for the ball from or how he's going to reach for the ball, and just putting yourself in a position to be fouled in that moment is a skill. Like it quite literally is. And I think there was a point in time where everyone, including myself, was like, this is too much the way that guys are drawing fouls. And Harden was maybe the main culprit of it. I think it would be unfair to say it was just him and there weren't a lot of players across the league doing so. But let's be honest, the NBA said this was a major emphasis in the way they called games, and it has showed this year. If we remember at the start of the year, all we were talking about were how low-scoring games were because guys were not used to these new foul call rules, right? If anyone remembers that. And guys have adapted, and we've seen the scoring pick back up really since the new year. Games have been back up in pace and in total scoring and all that stuff. But it is not as easy to go to the line as it was, throughout 2016 to 2020. It's a totally differently called game. And I just wanted to make a point of that before we move on. I know I just ran for a long time, but I think the big key is seeing Harden and Maxey interacting with each other because that is the big 3. Like you have two, an elite and a promising wing guy, like guys who can handle the ball on the perimeter, get their own shots. Like you're good. Like that is a proven success of winning basketball at any level.
I don't know if I can call it a big 3 yet.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm just stuck on the sample size because, the really good thing is we don't have to. And I'm not saying he was bad at it, but Maxey now reverts to more of a combo guard /2 guard role, which is what he was
Good
way more
point.
comfortable with. It's what he's always played, which is fantastic for him to be more comfortable in the role, and 2, to have somebody like Harden mentor him. But to me, I think the big 3 is going to rotate. I think it's the hot hand. And I'll admit that I think Maxey is going to be that more often than not. But like, again, I have to play the role of the devil's advocate here, because I don't think Harris has played as bad as we think he has in these 2 games. Like, back-to-back games, he locked up Cat, and granted, they were coming off a back-to-back. Cat has been hooping lately. And then he went in and locked up Julius Randle. Like, for as much as his shot is not falling right now, which he hit the big 3 against the Knicks, but it's just not falling for him right now. But Harden is being that guy to encourage him to take more threes. Josh, like you said, I do want to see him more in that catch and shoot role, but I think it's going to rotate, because I do think that Tobias can be that 16 to 19, maybe even 20 point a night guy in that 3rd, 4th role, depending on how the night goes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like I have to be an apologist, because, guys, I signed that apology letter to Tobias Harris last year, and I don't want to go through the process of defaming him and having to write another apology letter. So I think I just
never signed it. I just wanted to throw a quick side topic, because we talk about the big 3. What about the little 5? As in, who's the 5th man in the rotation? And through 2, it's been Matisse. I love it personally. Just want to throw that out there. Like,
it's been working.
The offense of those 4 guys being, like, even Toby, like, not even getting shots up. I think Matisse really doesn't have to do anything, and if he does, he's like wide open or getting a nice little cut, and his defense makes up for it, which we've had our debates on the show before. But now that you really have 4 like super solid offensive guys, you can afford to throw Thibault in there.
Exactly. And one other thing I want to mention is that I know it seems obvious to be like, oh, James Harden bad at defense, Matisse Thybulle good at defense, and that's good. One of the reasons James Harden is really so – I'll say this. James Harden is – not exactly a very active defender, right? And that's what happens when you need to take 30-plus shots a game when you're on the Rockets. And what he does a lot, he reaches for a ton of steals, right? Sometimes he gets them, sometimes he doesn't. Thibault, as we know, is an incredible help defender. Dude has a massive, massive wingspan. He's maybe the best, small guy. I'll say he's the best small guy in the NBA at contesting and blocking shots. And I think that really helps free Harden up to kind of play the way he does on defense. And we've seen Harden get a couple of steals. I believe he had multiple steals in both games. So
5? I want to say he had 5.
He had 5 last game, and I think he had 2 the first game.
Yeah, so I mean, 7 steals through 2 games. I mean, granted, it helps being up 20-plus points and being able to kind of play relaxed defense, that kind of thing. But that is who Harden is. And if, I'll say this, right? If I have a guy giving me any defensive effort when he's putting up 26, 8, and 12 regularly, I'll take that, right? And if that means he gets a poke ball here and there, I'm cool with that, because that's not his job. And thankfully, we have a guy like Thibault who can really pick up the slack. And I think that's actually going to be a huge thing for the Sixers, because in half court, we're not going to be in transition as much. And Harden does have pretty active hands. Like, he is not a bad lane player, I guess is a good way to put it. Famous clip of him getting absolutely destroyed by that Giannis pass from a couple years ago. Like, that was him trying to be in the passing lane.
Yep.
He paid for it.
Josh, I am actually really glad you brought this up, though, because I'm now fully on board with starting Tease full time.
Good.
I was the guy who advocated for Niang just because of the spacing. But now I want
perfect.
Yeah, now I want him. I want more scoring on the bench, in the bench role, because we're still, for some known reason, seeing an all bench lineup, even for a couple minutes. I don't get it, but I didn't.
I will.
That's fair. That's fair. But I didn't think the spacing would be this good. I really didn't. God. I really didn't, because I was truly worried that Joel Embiid, for as good as he is, would never be a pick and roll player just because he likes to creep out. Well, I was completely wrong, and this is exactly Joel Embiid somehow just instantly picked up the part of that 2-man game that Harden had with Clint Capella, and I never saw it coming. I really didn't. I didn't think he'd be willing to do it. And it's incredible.
The best part was seeing the things that you've just seen other teams do and never seen the Sixers. The first James Harden step back was just. That's one thing. The second is Just it's so simple. It's the Embiid screen, Harden taking it, and then Embiid not even going all the way out to the three. Like he just stands right there. Like he doesn't even move. The guy, they double team Harden, and Embiid wide open from the free throw line. Like that is his shot, and that's why I'm putting so much stock in it. Like it's a match made in heaven. And small
Dude, like
sample size, my ass. It's like it's so good. It's such an easy, like repeatable formula for success.
The pick and roll that is happening right now between him and Harden, like last year, getting pick and rolled to death against the Hawks, and either getting just rolled down or Trey would hit those floaters.
Yeah,
like it made me so furious because there could have been at least some variant of that in the Sixers offense, and now it's just a power pick and roll game, and I love it. I love it so much because they're like going back even to like the JJ Redick era. It wasn't really a pick and roll. It was kind of like an off screen.
Yeah, it was more dribble handoffs.
Yeah, it worked because JJ had a great year, but this is something else.
Embiid's never played with anybody even half as threatening in the pick and roll as Harden. Not even close. Yeah. The whole reason you have to respect the pick and roll is because the guy with the ball is supposed to be able to shoot on the other side of the screen, and obviously that wasn't in the Sixers offensive playbook for the last couple of years.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question we have is about a couple additions. We talked about the Willie Cauley-Stein addition last week, a minor signing. He's played like a grand total of like 8 minutes or something like that.
Not a good sign.
See how much, huh?
Not a good sign when Paul Millsap's still getting all those minutes.
Yeah.
Paul Trezap.
That's really my issue here. He just doesn't match with Harden. Like we were just talking about the pick and roll stuff. I'm just gonna interject here. Like that is like the only backup center we need is a guy who can catch alley-oops and finish around the rim. Like that's literally all we need for the 10 minutes a game that you spell Embiid. Like you don't need him to do quite literally anything else. And I understand that DeAndre Jordan would fit that profile, but he's washed. Like he, in my mind, this is red flags about Willie Cauley-Stein because how bad does he have to look in practice?
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
They want to go get DeAndre Jordan off the Lakers bench when he's been getting outplayed by Dwight Howard this year.
Well, okay, we praised Dwight Howard for being a backup center, for being a very good role player last year.
No shade to Dwight Howard. DeAndre Jordan is like 7 years younger than him.
But let's take this into account. DeAndre Jordan is averaging, I think, like 5.8 rebounds in like 11 minutes.
Yeah, he's still a great rebounder.
I'll take that.
Still a great rebounder for sure. But
I will take where's our rebounding coming from right now?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely fair. That's definitely fair. I guess to me it's just like there's no way that Willie Cauley-Stein is worse than this guy. Like DeAndre Jordan, he can't even finish the rim.
I disagree with that.
Maybe his years with the Kings really just ruined Willie Cauley-Stein.
I don't know, man. I guess, but like, I just feel like as a guy who is, I mean, we talk about how much younger DeAndre Jordan is than Dwight Howard. Willie Cauley-Stein was a one and done at Kentucky, right? Like, am I misremembering that?
He was on the best team ever.
Like, that dude is what could be his athletic prime right now. I can't imagine he's any older than 28. Like, wasn't he with Cat? Yeah, Banners, please hit me with the numbers here.
Stall for me.
I will. I'll just reiterate that. Like, if you think DeAndre Jordan is the solution to your problem, and I get it. If you're just trying to do rebounds, then yeah, fine.
He's 28.
28 years old.
Exactly. DeAndre Jordan is like 32 or 33, right? So there's a couple of years difference there. And I guess for me, it's just like the main thing that I want a backup center. Like in my mind, any backup center should be able to grab you 4 rebounds a game. I need somebody who's going to be able to consistently finish 2 alley-oop pick and rolls with James Harden again.
That's more of Jordan's game than it ever was Cauley-Stein's, though.
I know. And it's just he just seems so washed. And Cauley-Stein was never really a great like outside. I always thought of him as more of an inside banger, like no post moves. Like he was to me was just like a good cleaner up on offensive glass, which I think would be a great help for the Sixers backup unit because all they can do is shoot threes. And I don't know. I would have I would say that DeAndre Jordan is probably better high point finisher than Cauley-Stein ever was, but I don't know. Maybe it's just my hopes and dreams running wild here with
I want to caution against the Laker bias because like before this year, nobody was saying Russ was washed. We all just know like what Russell Westbrook is. So like, could it be that just the Lakers are just that? Like,
I think DeAndre
Frank Vogel probably shouldn't have a job, and like it's got to be suffocating in LA. So like,
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you. I mean, is DeAndre Jordan the player he was before? Absolutely not. But and even before the Lakers, he wasn't getting minutes on the Nets, right? So that'll go to show you it's not just the Lakers. But I do think we got to look at this. Max, he fits exactly the bill you're talking about the guy who can get lobs, guy who can run the pick and roll. And remember this, DeAndre Jordan has been Daryl Morey's like white whale, and he has played his best ball under Doc Rivers. So say what you will, I think that maybe all
Good
those
point.
elements being combined with James Harden being the prototypical pick and roll guy, and who else are the Sixers going to get, right? Willie Cauley-Stein's not cutting it. Looking around at other buyout guys, there's not many. Does DeAndre Jordan tip the needle? Hell no. Hell no, he does not tip the needle. They need to get shooters. They need to get they need to get another shooter or another point guard. Or it goes back to that argument I made about staggering the rotation in the playoffs. I think it's a good pickup. I think they should get DeAndre Jordan, but there should be no DeAndre Jordan jerseys going around.
I'll say this because we're talking about DeAndre Jordan too much here. I think I'm going to end with this. For the 2 games that I've seen the 3 games I've seen Paul Millsap, I'm very much ready to give DeAndre Jordan a similar 3-game run, and we'll go apples to apples.
I agree with that.
I had a point to make. Oh, I would say that it tips the needle simply for the fact that I think this is a very fragile needle this year, because just last week I watched a ton of media pundits, their scales just immediately tip in the favor of the Nets when they signed Goran, the corpse of Goran Dragic. So
That's true. He has been not great in 2 games.
And he's been hurt. So even when he was on the Nets, he was
definitely
destroyed by injuries.
True.
Yeah, so if Goran Dragic can just immediately tip the needle for the Nets, why can't a perfect role player for the Sixers tip that needle right back? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. A little food for thought, since this buyout market, which we thought could have given us some good names, is so goddamn thin. I mean, seriously, Schroeder wasn't bought out. Bledsoe, none of these guys that
Schroeder's going to be starting tonight
Harris,
because Kevin Porter Jr. is out for the Rockets. He's literally going to start tonight, and it's come on, dude. Honestly, it's very, very much a side note. What the hell are the Rockets doing? They have Eric Gordon and Dennis Schroeder there. Just they consistently give them both minutes. Neither one are expected to be bought out. I thought Eric Gordon was number 1 most prime candidate to be traded this year. I can't believe he stayed with Houston through the trade deadline. Then they get Schroeder, and it's dude, what are they doing? They have 3 young guards that they should be trying to develop, and they're just I know nobody cares, but what the fuck are the Rockets doing?
And the Magic are still trotting out Gary Harris now that it's so weird, man. And you know what? Shout out, we got another couple Markelle Fultz Summer League highlights, boys. Did you?
No, that wasn't high. He checked into a real game last night.
No, I know. That's a highlight from yesterday.
Well,
I just called it a Summer League.
Maybe that tips the needle on Gary Harris. That could be the piece to get Gary Harris into a buyout situation.
I was not aware.
I would. Oh, dude, he came spinning, drove into the lane, spin move.
People in the arena in Orlando.
Came driving in the lane, spin move at the elbow, fade away at the top of the key.
Yeah, he didn't look bad. I saw his little highlight tape on Twitter today. I mean, he didn't look bad, but I mean, it's certainly you can tell as a guy who you would not spend a number 1 overall pick on at this current stage, which sucks because it really does. But yeah, that there is a chance, right? If there was a 0% chance before that, Markelle Fultz came back and looked good enough where he could take some minutes out of the Magic rotation, and maybe that makes Gary Harris a 1% chance available. Bring it on.
Why is Terrence Ross just wasted away? Why are we letting him?
I don't know. I'm down for Terrence Ross.
I would love some T-Ross.
You give me a guy who can explode. You need one bench explosion in the playoffs, right? That can literally change a series. In the 2-2 series, Terrence Ross goes off for 16 in 11 minutes off your bench, dude. You win that series in 7. I'm in. I've always been a Terrence Ross guy. I always thought he was.
Max and I with the T-Ross. I know Josh has hated on Terrence in the past.
No, I was hating on T-Ross in comparison to James Harden.
Did we ever make that comparison?
No, I was saying if the trade deadline comes around and Daryl Morey gets Terrence Ross and tells me to be happy, I'm going to be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, and I was actually asking if I made that comparison because I think I might have. You guys might need to check me into some kind of asylum. Although I'm not completely ruling it out for some of the stuff I say. Let's see. Last question in this. God, dude, why? Why do we do this? Why? Why do we have to do this?
Skip it. There is no free agency talk because baseball's dying.
Yes, this is ridiculous. Rod Manfred can go. I I was gonna make a comment about using all the leather from the
and go home is what he can do.
Yeah, I was gonna make a comment about using all the leather at the Rawlings factory to do something very I don't want to get into it.
Put two and two together.
You know what? Let's do a more fun version of it.
Okay.
And that is not what I have in the script, but is this? Come on, Makai. He's getting used to it. We won't throw him under the bus right there. You know what? No, we're not going to talk about the trade or the free agency talk, whatever MLB is. We're going to talk about winners and losers of this whole debacle because I think we can take this in some fun directions. We'll do it real quick. Josh, you're loser of the MLB deadline. I don't want to hear any of these players' nonsense. I want you to get creative with it. Go outside that box that is your head.
Oh my God! All right, well, my answer is everyone, but I'll change it up because, I don't know. The children are the losers. Banners. My best memories of my entire life are on a baseball diamond. Playing, pitching, fielding ground balls, getting dirty, and it's just dead, man. The sport's so freaking dead. Why would my kid ever pick up a baseball when he watches James Harden on the TV and he could go practice his step backs?
Way easier to make it pro. There's a reason.
Listen, I'm mad about it because I don't think anyone's a winner. I think everyone's a loser. So the ultimate loser is always our youth. They always seem to get they get screwed the most. So once again, in the span of baseball, the youth, big losers.
Max, who's your out of the box loser of this whole shit show?
Oh man, I don't know. I'll pass. I got it is the kids, right? No. Here we go.
For the
real loser of
children.
this is American tradition, right? Because first they took our baseball.
Oh no.
And next they're going to take our apple pie, and that's how it goes.
You can touch baseball. Don't touch my apple pie. My loser is the freaking minor league players who are having to still play. Could you imagine? I'm trying to get
awkward,
there,
yeah.
but they're and I still have to ride around on a bus for below minimum wage. Baseball is hilariously messed up from top to bottom, and the boys out there in the farm system, you got it the worst. So I guess try and stretch out as much as you can on that Greyhound on your way to Little Rock. Have fun, or don't. I don't care.
Hurricanes versus the Little Rock Zebras in today's
the Rough Riders. Josh, do you have a winner?
You know what? You just gave me one. The winner is the minor leaguers because if we get desperate enough to go watch baseball, the minor leaguers are still playing. And hey, Coca-Cola Park, I've heard, is a pretty nice place in Lehigh Valley. So hey, if you get so desperate, wait, is Alec Boehm gonna play for the Iron Pigs?
No.
See.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you got Alec Bowman in the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs jersey, I'm like, hey, baseball, that's something. But, there's no winners. That's a stretch.
You go see a world-class baseball named Mickey Moniak in Lehigh Valley.
There you go. I just might. If I get desperate enough, which I just might. What's March Madness?
Named after a really good baseball player. That means he is too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Has to be. Max, is there a winner, man?
Soccer.
That's a good one.
It's creeping up.
That's a good one.
From one white ball to another.
There we go.
There is no winner. Screw baseball. I'm so upset. That's a good point, though. I had a great Sunday. I went to, I returned to Maxie's, the old stomping ground, to watch the Sixers game with a couple buddies before heading over to the Liacouras Center to watch the Temple basketball men's basketball team.
Should have let me know. I was on the call.
Yeah, I was far too liquidated to do that. But I will tell you what, college basketball has gotten so unbearably slow in the last 2 minutes. I saw a guy watching soccer on his phone in the stands, a couple rows below me, and I was like, dude, this is bad. This has really gotten to it was not a good point.
Good game too.
It wasn't bad. It was the last 2 minutes were some of the more painful ones I've seen in recent memory, though. Let's see, second half here, gentlemen, to finish off the show with something we're going to call levels to this. We're going to see how it goes. So, what level are the Lakers trash? So, give me everything. You know what I mean? So, don't hold out on me. If the Lakers are not trash, you still have hope, which I don't know if you might. tell me about it. Or if they are so trash that they should blow it up and trade LeBron back to Cleveland and trade Anthony Davis for picks, tell me how far you would go, Josh.
Oh my gosh! Well, you guys remember me getting into it with ET back in before the playoffs started last year, and I was saying the Lakers were cooked. Oh my gosh! I'm sorry because I know I sound like such a bad guy. You guys have known I really enjoy watching other teams fail. You know, almost more than I watch liking my team succeed. Like I love watching the Lakers fail like this because I'm right. I love being right, and I can't. And LeBron rubs me the wrong way. It's just man, it's crazy because LeBron's not the problem. GM LeBron is the problem, and he has screwed that team up so bad to the point of no return. I would be surprised if they make it past the first round. Honestly, I don't even think that's an overreaction. I'm tempted to throw a buck or two on Lakers to miss the playoffs entirely. The only thing is, I don't know which one of those teams outside of the playoffs would steal it from them. I guess they could lose in the play-in, but put a fork in them. Like if there's anyone out there still saying it's LeBron and AD, they're going to come around. I don't think there's a chance. I really don't think there's a chance, especially when you look around the West. Like Jamal Murray's going to come back. You know, look at the Nuggets. And forget about the Suns. Forget about the Jazz. Put a fork in them. The Lakers are done. They get the levels of them being trashed. The cliche, dumpster on fire. That's what they are.
Max, how bad are the Lakers, man? What level are the Lakers at?
They are quite a bad basketball team at this point in time. I honestly, I don't even know how they could make it through the play-in tournament. I really don't. I don't even think they'll be one of the 8 teams that make it to the Western Conference playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they aren't even competitive in a potential play-in game. I will say this as someone who, during all the dark years of Sixers basketball gravitated towards LeBron, because I've explained this before, but the idea of being able to witness the all-time great in a sport really appealed to me, right? So I was like, you know what, why not? I got nothing going on the home turf. Let me be a LeBron guy. And, I was never Nick Wright. I was never one of these LeBron season king emoji people on Twitter, right? Never one of them. But I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't, actively cheering for LeBron most years when the Sixers were bad. With that being said, this is an all-time bad GMing move out of anybody, whether you actually are the GM or not of the team. That trade for Russell Westbrook damaged a lot of legacies, and it really changed the way that we're going to view LeBron and Russell Westbrook and all the fallout of the people who get fired from the Lakers, right? Like Frank Vogel and it kind of already happened with Magic Johnson leaving, but I know obviously that wasn't a direct result of the Russell Westbrook or anything like that. But this era of the NBA, of LeBron's career, really this is going to be the biggest knock on Russell Westbrook's lifetime of work in the NBA. But I mean, I don't know what they were ever thinking that this could work when a guy, I mean, it's not even like he fell off a cliff this year. Russell Westbrook shot I think he shot like 27.1% from 3 last year for a full sample size of a season. Like as someone who is a LeBron guy, like I was extraordinarily confused by that. I was extraordinarily confused by it. And to me, it kind of felt, for the first time in a while, I kind of felt like it was LeBron being entitled, thinking that he could do that at 38, quite honestly, because this team has been dysfunctional all year. They are lifeless half the time they're out there. The other half of the games are LeBron needing to do, vintage LeBron things for them to even have a chance. And the real difference this year is that even in those vintage LeBron games, his team isn't winning those games. And whether that's his level of play declining a little bit, or if that's really just how bad the roster around him is, I think it's a little bit of both. But the Lakers are so bad. I truly think that they'll lose the first play-in game, even if they are the higher seed.
The Los Angeles Lakers, and I'm sorry, I'm simultaneously working because I have a deadline to meet. The Los Angeles Lakers need to trade Anthony Davis before his value completely crumbles. The Los Angeles Lakers need to hurry up and trade LeBron James to wherever will take him at this moment. And they need to completely tear down this roster. Because I'll tell you what, if somebody gets upset that you don't trade Russell Westbrook for John Wall in the year 2022,
yikes,
that tells me you're completely out of touch. completely out of touch with the way that the rest of the NBA is moving around you. So go let him waste 4 years or however long it's going to be until his son gets to the league with somebody else, because you're the Lakers. You're supposed to be better than this. Me personally, I don't care if you're not. I think it's hilarious. I don't really like you. But you're supposed to be the Lakers. This is like, this might even be worse than like the Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball Lakers. Like, at least that was like, that was young talent. This
at least
is
they
just
had,
like
something to look forward to.
This is a deflated banana boat that's like 2 miles offshore that like everybody got too drunk and got lost at sea. Like this is bad here, friends. So yeah, trade everybody. Go. Anthony Davis is a walking IL stint, and I just made a baseball reference. I don't care. Trade everybody. Let's see. Ja Morant's 50 burger. If you haven't seen the highlights from Ja Morant, I don't know what's wrong with you. You are living under a rock. This is that game might be one of the most impressive regular season performances that I have ever seen in my life. Tell me that tells you how I feel about it. That's what level I'm on. Josh, what level are you on? What level is Ja Morant on?
I think it's time that people start saying he's like an ultra superstar. Like I think he is the next guy in this league, right? It's like it's Giannis, it's going to be Ja Morant, it's going to be Embiid. And I think that's what we're going to be looking at in the next few years as the LeBron era dwindles down, as Kawhi and PG are a disaster. Like Ja Morant is that guy. And yeah, like last night was his most spectacular performance, but this is stuff he's been doing since his days at Murray State. Like this is not a flash in the pan. This is not like he's got all the skills, he put it together one night. Like no, this guy is the superstar of the NBA. And I honestly I wish I got his jersey sooner before all the frat guys were wearing those Vancouver Grizzlies with no shirt underneath, because whew, that is a damn good jersey.
Dude, those jerseys they were wearing last night are so beautiful. Clean. They're insanely nice. So
Memphis is a fun team.
Oh, agreed. I know we're doing, levels is the name of the game here. I gotta say, Ja Morant is truly on another level. The third quarter buzzer beater that he hit off the pass from Steven Adams. Yes. I'm not exaggerating. I think that is maybe the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, that is an absolutely insane thing to be able to do in 0.4 of a second. Ja Morant is 18 feet from the basket, fading away, out of bounds, catching a pass mid-air. I mean, like, it's like you just picked in a hat instead of grabbing like 1 degree of difficulty. You grab the whole fist and like you do this, and you get to be an NBA superstar forever. And like I'm quite literally mind blown. Like I know we're gonna talk about him as an evolution of a player. Right now, I don't know how anybody is ever going to have a better single game highlight reel than what he did last night. I swear to God, like. This is up there with the stuff you see on Instagram with all the T-Mac highlight videos and Kobe's 81 against Toronto. Yeah. Like in terms of flashiness and sheer athleticism and just how impressive it was, like I quite literally think that might be one of, if not the most single impressive games by a player in terms of like how they got the highlights, right? Like not anyone can get 52, right? But in terms of like 50 plus point performances in NBA history, that's got to be the most fun one to watch, right?
No question.
That dunk over Pirtle.
The dunk, the fact that dunk and the buzzer beater happened in the same game is like most dudes would kill for one of those two in their career, and Ja Morant did them a quarter apart. Like the dude is a superstar. If he's not like if it's not Luka, you're taking as the best player under 25 to build a roster around. Now that Giannis I think is 26, I don't know how it couldn't be Ja Morant.
Love it. And even Allen Iverson, he did. Obviously, he won't say Joel Embiid is not the MVP, but that picture with his.
He told him. He said one day MVP. Maybe not this year, young fellow, but
I'll co-sign that.
I think hard to believe.
Oh, big co-sign.
I'll co-sign that. Let's see, last one here. And I haven't been much of a college hoops guy this season, so you guys are gonna have to take over for me. Let's see. College basketball top 5 teams lost. Expectations for March Madness. Josh.
I want to address 2 things that the upsets on Saturday. That's tabloid headlines, right? They're just selling newspapers that there are all these upsets. there were like there were two real upsets. The other guys were like favored. Like Arkansas beat Kentucky. Arkansas was favored. Purdue Michigan State was like of an upset. Colorado beating Arizona, huge upset.
That's
And
big.
anytime Gonzaga loses at all
To
is a huge
anybody
upset.
before the
Right.
tournament. Yeah.
So that was big, but I mean, it's like on paper the biggest upset day in college basketball history. It wasn't that big of an upset day, but I will say this: the biggest takeaway and the biggest thing that I think everyone should be excited about going to March Madness is there is not a unanimously agreed upon best team in the country. It seems like every year one team separates itself from the pack. Like last year was Gonzaga. I mean, they didn't win it, but like it's always kind of lame to me when you fill out the March Madness pool and everyone has like half the pool picked one team to win it all. I don't think you're going to be able to do it this year. Like there's been such a rotating, and there's some really good teams like in the top 10, but I personally have no idea at this point in time like who I would pick. Like it's really one of those years where I got to see the paths from the March Madness. Like some years I'm like I get in my head like, oh, I'm locked in on this team. They're going all the way, and I'm like, I got no idea this year. And that Gonzaga St. Mary's game, I think, really adds some hype to the whole upset and like some Cinderella teams making big runs.
Max, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to mostly defer to Josh as our resident college basketball expert, but as somebody who was lucky enough to just like be out and about during the day Saturday, out at Yards Brewery for a little bit, and I went to another bar, but there was TVs aplenty, and it was awesome just like one by one, just watching big teams lose. And yeah, Josh is 100% correct. Not all of these were upsets by line, but the ones that were were huge. Like were like the kind of upsets that college basketball stays relevant off of. Like not to be over dramatic, but like college basketball is great because of teams like St. Mary's going to Gonzaga and winning as 14.5-point dogs, or Colorado beating number 2 Arizona, who owns it. Like Arizona owns Colorado, but sometimes the stars align, and they were at Colorado the 2 days after being at Colorado State. And sometimes the stars align, and you get to see just an incredible, you get to see an incredible college basketball upset. So I think it just kind of feels like par for the course for March Madness. I will say that as the limited college basketball I've watched this year, I would agree. It doesn't seem like there's everyone's going to pick this team, but it certainly feels like that when you look at the total number of, in a bracket of, if a bracket competition has 100 people in it, right? I'm feeling the list of teams picked as champions is going to be a lot longer than usual.
Exactly. Yeah.
Towards the bottom, you're going to see, random 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 6s, right? When usually it's like 35, 30, 28, 22, 17, 50, right? Like that. I think you're going to see a much wider assortment of teams, predicted to make runs or win the title.
Well, I promise to do my due diligence. I admittedly have not watched much college basketball, but I will.
It doesn't matter. I've only been watching it because it's NBA. Like quite literally, NBA All Star Week just happened. That's the only time
this is how I do
NBA All Star Week happens. There's no NBA, and then I pay attention again when conference tournaments happen because they start at like 3 in the afternoon, and it's awesome to watch college basketball that early in the morning or that early in the day.
Oh, it is.
This is what I do though. I don't really. I play catch up. I cram right before.
Doesn't matter what nothing in college basketball matters before January, like literally.
Yeah.
Except
that just seems to be a theme with basketball. But that's our second half. Let's do it. Let's tap it out. Josh, what do you got? You got anything?
Oh, I got to tap up, boys.
Let me go first.
Yeah, you go first.
I got a lame one. I just want to get over with quick so I can go back to playing Elden Ring. If you've seen it on Twitter, it lives up to the hype. If you're a sadist, you like spending multiple hours doing the same thing over and over until you get it just right, then that's for you. So make it snappy, boys. I got shit to do.
Love it. Right. Josh, I'll let you close out the show. So I know we're all expecting the March Madness to be the hype, but boys, it is mock draft season.
Oh, no.
This is where I make my living, boys. Okay? I don't care for these. I don't care for Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, a first-round mock draft or a 3-round. No, give me a draft simulator. Give me all 7 rounds and turn trades on. Okay, this is where we really turn stuff up. All right, I don't.
Can we get an Inside the Birds mock draft episode?
There will be something around that with. There will be something featuring Greg Cosell, who grinds more tape than anybody should ever be allowed to.
There should be an episode starring Jimmy H.
Yeah, no thanks. Let's see. Josh Safran. I know what this is about, but I want to hear it anyway. Tap us out.
Take us home.
Fellas, I was gonna go move my car, grab a little bite to eat today, turned on the engine, and it was making a crazy noise. And I was like, I got an old car. What something? Turn it off, turn it on again. That'll fix it. Turn it off again. Crazy noise, like lawnmower loud. Third time's the charm. Boom. Same thing. Engine light is on. And fellas, I am your latest victim of the catalytic converter thief pandemic. That puppy, quick Google search tells me that puppy's going to run you about $1,000 in real US dollars. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to make a police report. I'm going to have to hope insurance bails me out here. But I don't even know what to do. I lock my car like a good citizen, I'm aware of the streets I live on. I try to do what I can to be safe and not get things stolen from me. And there's just...
your catalytic converter is not inside the car, right?
That's the point I'm making. That's the exact point I'm making.
Okay.
It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about this thing, man? Like, I lock my car. I'm a good citizen. Like, why me, man? It's a 2006-year-old. It's a car from 2006. There's no way that this catalytic converter is worth more than the Audis. Go steal the Audis. Don't steal mine. I can't afford this, man. But hey, I'm seeing Harden tomorrow. I'm not gonna let it get me too down, but it is getting me down. That's it.
So, Josh, I'll tell you what I was told when my catalytic converter was stolen.
Uh-oh.
What you can do is you can go to a shop and have them just weld on a sheet of metal underneath to prevent them, because what they do is they get right under and just cut out the converter. So you can go pay $600 to go have somebody else. You have to buy the 4-inch thick slab and go have them welded onto your car after you buy another $900 catalytic converter. I did not go that route. I saved myself some money. But I'm just going to tell you what was repeated back to me by an officer of the Blue. So
that's not going to happen.
Yeah. It's tough, man.
Not winning that many bets.
It's tough out here, man. But that's going to be it here for us on Trust the Process Live. Remember, tomorrow night versus the Knicks. Correct, Josh? Tomorrow night versus the Knicks?
Yes, sir. 7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. James Harden, home debut as a 76er. We'll be back next week to talk all about it and everything that happens between now and then. If you didn't catch us live, you know where to check us out. Anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, anywhere in between. You find somewhere we're not, you let us know. We'll get there. Until next time, we're Trust the Process Live, and we are brought to you by Mighty Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly. Catch you next week.